today is Dr. Ted Esguerra, the Expedition and Wilderness EMS Physician of the Philippines Mount Everest Expedition Team, to discuss disaster response. Good afternoon, Dr. Esguerra. Always a pleasure having you on ANC.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, let's talk about Yolanda in particular. Typhoons, yung expectation lagi, hangin na malakas, and rains. But there's a new animal called storm surge. Okay. Not everyone's familiar with storm surge, but apparently it has caused much destruction, more than the strong winds and the rains, perhaps. The onslaught of Typhoon Yolanda. What is it all about?
The storm surge is, the issue here is like we call the tidal wave in the days of old now. This talks about the seawater that rises up immediately, and it's being propelled by, of course, the wind. And usually the impact and the greatest problem is when it really affects communities along the coastal areas, and they're so vulnerable.
How different is that from tsunami?
A tsunami is always earthquake generated, wherein it can be the volcanic thing or the tectonic, and there is like a force being propelled towards the surface of the ocean, and then the wave is being produced.
Build up.
Yeah. While the storm surge is just the water is being pushed to where it is destined to go, and since it is recorded to be one of the the strongest cyclone that we ever had, so the problem is Visayas took the greatest toll on that. And Leyte, having lots of municipalities situated along the coastal areas,
right.
And we saw how the onslaught, the devastation. And in fact, tomorrow we'll be heading there. We will have a chartered flight sponsored to us by the Energy Development Corporation. So me and my 8-man light search and rescue team. Our target will be Ormoc, because we have already a team destined to go to Tacloban. And the Samar and Leyte Theater, since they are these are islands, and the access to the water line and food line is affected. Access to power, communication, and health services are affected. So this is like a 359 insults happening around. And probably the psyche of our people is not into this, what we call like the at the end of the world as we know it thing. And the only thing is we have to stage resources on how we can penetrate areas which are so vulnerable. Because right now, if you will see the psychology, people are already hungry, and they might not submit to procedures
or authorities,
to the authorities. So when we respond there, it should be a protracted thing. We have to bring in the police, the army, together with the services that we have to put into place. And we only have one airport that's quite operational. That's in Tacloban. And we still have to, let's make use of some airstrips that can be available for as helipads, so that we can probably send more support to our municipalities and barangays which are affected.
What are your expectations in terms of the tasks that are expected of you once you get there? What is the biggest challenge for your group?
The biggest challenge would be how we can sustain the help that is needed out there. We can just do some sort of a search and rescue thing, which is not really needed right now, because if people are lost, we would presume that they're already dead, because people will always find ways out to
get home, to look for relatives.
And we don't have any definite staging areas during the time when Yolanda made a hard hit on us. We had our evacuation centers, but as you can see, they are severely damaged also. Now, the hardest thing is how to restage again the community, and put them into a situation wherein we can just smoothly bring down services back to them. Imagine we will still cross the body of water. So the best way there is, the best staging area is from Cebu to get lots of resources and logistics.
Up from Cebu, that becomes your hub, and then you jump off
Yeah,
to
jump off.
parts of
Pwede.
Leyte. What sorts of relief items or medical emergency items will you be bringing, considering that the medical needs are quite unique? Most of these are trauma injuries. Tinamaan ng yero, nakaapak ng pako. What kind of medical issues are you anticipating as a result of Yolanda?
Well, we call it, when we activate the team, the instruction is just bring all. Because you don't expect hospitals to be working normally in that mayhem. So our team will just bring lots of medicines for adults and children. We'll bring water purifying equipages. We'll bring, what we call this crank recharging thing for cell phones, so that the families can contact their relatives outside. Kasi yung problema, especially in my wall, is people from Qatar, from wherever, are contacting me, Doc, please locate for this and that. And I have lots of them. And the only thing that they can, they put them in at peace is probably if they hear what happens to their relatives. Whether kung buhay, mas maganda.
But their communication lines are still down, power is still out.
Yes, mainly. And I believe, the government is doing lots of things. And one thing is, one of the main source of power is from Leyte also, our geothermal there.
Right.
So
since it's badly affected, all the other areas, depending on Leyte, will also be suffering from power outages.
Yeah,
and it's not going to be rehabilitated. We were speaking to Secretary Pitilla, and he was setting the goal at 2 months. It could take at least 2 months to put everything back to normal. That's quite a gargantuan task.
Yes, sir.
Rehabilitation.
Now we have to consider here two avenues. There is what we call the intermediate and the long range intervention, and we have to also employ the short runs. For example, come up with field tents, medical tents, come up with like staging points where they can get water, come up with some sort of a line wherein we can come up with a kitchen or a hot soup area.
And that's what you will be doing as soon as
yes,
you arrive.
We will do initial because we cannot just feed the whole community. It depends on our airlift payload. Now, once we establish, we can have definite landmark that this is a hot zone area.
So you can establish base in that hot zone.
So we will make use of the Energy Development Corporation vicinity because they have lots of vehicles, they have communication facilities, and I believe that they are also self-sustaining team up there. And they are a source of power also. So that will be a nice staging area, and we were given green light to do that so that we can penetrate more communities from the Ormoc area and going to upward.
What are your expectations upon arrival? Ano kaya yung una mong magiging priority?
We have a top 3 lane, priority lane. First and foremost is how to make this community gain access to the basic needs. For example, if we can still get some sources of food and water we can purify, we'll stick to that. But the overhead, sir, is we'll maintain some sort of a security and safety line. We will not spread the disaster. We will not spread diseases. Number 2 is how we can come up with temporary power source so that we can activate our communication line.